Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Good morning, students. I welcome you all to my next new class, chapter 7, Weather, Climate and Adaptations of Animals to Climate. In this chapter, we are going to learn about weather, the various elements that controls or that decides weather. Then we are going to learn about climate, and finally we are going to learn about the various adaptations of animals to climate. Before starting our lesson, let me remind you to be safe, to be protected, and also to pray for others, especially the sufferers. There are many who don't have shelter. There are many who don't have clothings, and there are many who are infected and diseased. So kindly take a moment regularly to pray for those who are suffering, and to also pray for those who are sincere, hardworking, punctual and faithful. Then second aspect is, I request you to complete your assignments. So one thing you should be knowing, my dear students, that is the work that you do or the work that is given to you, or I would say in other way, whatever that you learn. Okay, so don't think this is different and that is different. So everything is interlinked. Okay, so whatever that you do at this moment, whether you reading what is in the book or not, what is actually happening in your life is you are gaining experience. It may be reading or memorizing or writing or being punctual or being sincere or being faithful. Put together is your experience. So whatever you are being trained now, whether you get a job or not, whether you have money or not tomorrow, but makes you a complete human being, for which you are born as. So keep this in mind. I hope you understand what I am trying to say, and try to be a human rather than to be something else. Okay, so that is so that God will be happy, and He will be abundantly blessing you. Blessing is not just getting some materials of this earth, but when you are safe, when you have a sound life, that is happy and sound life, or when you are free from disease, which means you are blessed. That's what I would say. So it doesn't mean you will not get the certain aspects of this earth. It's not like that. So apart from that, these are the main core of happiness, or main core of blessing that you receive from God. So with this small initiation, I just want to go into the lesson. So again I repeat, try to do your assignments regularly. If at all, if you need some help, approach our school, so that a certain kind of aids can be given, certain kinds of guidelines can be provided to you. If you know any teacher, you can also approach them, so that some sort of guidelines can be given. Moreover, I don't know this suggestion. Okay, so the suggestion link that is sent to you, I don't know what feedback you get again from the school. If at all, if you have any doubts, I'll display my number. You can contact me and ask certain doubts related to your academy or related to your subjects. I'll try to clarify your doubts. Okay, that will be a fruitful way of learning, I suppose. Okay, right. Also give some negative comments of my classes if possible, so that I can modify certain aspects. Okay, thank you. Right, now we'll go into the lesson. The first topic is weather. I just want to compare this weather and the climate. So weather, both weather or climate, they are a phenomenon or a process taking place in this earth or taking place in the atmosphere, where weather takes place for a short period of time and climate takes place for a long period of time. That is, if a weather takes place for a few minutes or a few hours, climate takes place for years. So that is the main difference between a weather and a climate. As I said before, it is a process. Both are processes or phenomenon that takes place in the atmosphere or in the earth. You will understand this what I am saying now when I continue my teaching. Okay. Weather is none other than the rainfall or the temperature or the wind that occurs in a particular region for a short period of time. This is known as weather. You come across various weather reports in newspapers or in televisions, which are all done or reported based on this rainfall, clouds, temperature, humidity, etc. Based on that only you will get these weather reports.
Audio Jungle.
The scientist who studies, who measures and forecasts this weather report or simply weather are known as meteorologists. There are various elements of weather, which includes, as we discussed in the beginning, temperature, rainfall, humidity, pressure, wind speed, etc. So only 4 has been discussed in your book, so we'll stick on to that, and we will learn how these elements affects the weather of a particular place for a short period of time. The first element is temperature. Temperature plays a major role in affecting a weather. You'll also learn one thing, that is the main core which actually affects or which decides a weather is none other than sunlight. Based on sunlight only we have temperature. Based on sunlight only we have the wind, and based on sunlight we have wind, and because of the wind we have cloud formation, and it is because of the sunlight we have wind, and because of the cloud formation and because of that we have rainfall. And finally, based on sunlight we have this so-called atmospheric pressure, and based on sunlight we have relative humidity. So sunlight is the main reason for all the elements of weather and for weather itself. So this you will understand when I teach the elements of weather. Okay. So first let us start with the temperature. You all know very well that the temperature is decided by sunlight, especially when it is a summer season, where you come across more sunlight, more heat and light coming from sunlight, and because of that the temperature will be high. If it is cloudy or if it is rainfall, the sun is covered, so heat and light is covered, so you will get a mild temperature. And with regard to polar regions, where the sunlight have to travel a long distance, and because of that there will be less heat and light, and so in North Pole and South Pole of our Earth, where we come across chill temperature, or I could say freezing temperature. Okay, so when you are in a particular place, for example you are in Puducherry, where you come across change in this weather based on temperature. That is, if it is 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the early morning, that is maybe it can be called as dawn, so where you come across very less temperature, that is sometimes a chill temperature. Okay, so when the time goes on, that is 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, that is when the sun rises above, what happens, slowly the temperature rises, that is you start to sweat. Then maybe at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, where the sun will be exactly in the equator region, so the temperature will be too high. Again after noon, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, where the temperature will be still rising, and later on after 4, 5, 6 you will come across slowly the temperature dropping. Okay, so again you receive a mild temperature. Then 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, again the temperature goes down, and late night, where you come across the temperature completely dropped. Again it happens up to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. So this is based on the presence of sun. So when the sun rises, the heat from the sun starts to warm up the atmosphere, and when it comes to the equator, that is noon time, where the sun will be nearer to the earth, that too nearer to the equator, so that region where you come across more temperature, and after noon slowly the temperature drops down. So this is what we experience, this is the weather that we experience based on temperature.
If you look into this picture, you can find the tabular column dated from 23 to 29. So this is a measure of temperature which shows minimum temperature, maximum temperature, similarly minimum humidity and maximum humidity. The temperature is given in Celsius, humidity in percentage. One thing you can understand from this is either temperature or humidity, this is not permanent, or this is not increasing or decreasing. It rapidly changes for every day, as I said in the beginning, which is based on the sunlight. Based on that minimum and maximum temperature, similarly based on the minimum and maximum humidity, a graph can be drawn. So usually when you study about something, instead of studying the tabular column, if you go for a graph, that will be easy for you to understand about the tabular column. So if you look into the graph, you can come across the deviations that is found in the graph, and you can come across the graph slowly decreasing and then increasing. Similarly, humidity, it rises up and down, and it is moderately moving when the day passes by. This tabular column gives a good idea about Srinagar, that is Jammu and Kashmir, and Thiruvananthapuram, that is Kerala. So this tabular column shows the daily minimum and maximum temperature, as well as the total rainfall found in these two regions. So in Jammu and Kashmir, where you come across freezing temperatures from November to February, and slowly in March and April, similarly in October, the temperature rises from 3 to 7, and in May, June and August, where the temperature is some 10 to 17 degrees Celsius. Similarly, maximum temperature also you come across high temperature from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius during the month of May to September. In Thiruvananthapuram, that is in Kerala, where the temperature is almost moderate, minimum temperature in 20s and maximum temperatures nearly in 30 degrees Celsius. With regard to rainfall in Jammu and Kashmir, so that also varies from 30 up to 100. So it does not reach 100 but 99. Whereas in Kerala, it goes above 100 mm. Okay. So minimum is just 23, and in some months, that is in the month of May, June, July, where the rainfall is 230 mm, 227 mm and 321. So maximum in Kerala they receive 321 mm of rainfall. So this is actually based on more vegetation that is found in Kerala. Similarly in Jammu and Kashmir, the freezing temperature is because of the hilly region, more mountains, and because of that you come across freezing temperature, that is presence of snow.
And based on this temperature only we get wind. So I just want to concentrate on the wind secondly. Okay, so when it comes to wind, you learn in other lesson where the wind is formed because of the rise in temperature. So in a particular place, when there is high temperature, the air that is found in the atmosphere of that particular place will start to become warm, or it becomes hotter. Generally, hot air is denseless. That is, I should not use the word weight, but dense is almost equivalent to weight. Okay. So since it is denseless, actually the word comes from the word density. You learn later density is, there is an equation, density is none other than mass by volume. So density depends on mass as well as volume. Here when the air gets hotter, so generally hot air is denseless, so it starts to move up. This you can understand when you observe smoke, usually from a candle or from something that burns. The smoke that comes out will start to move up. Even water vapor you can find moving upwards. So this is a small example that hot air is denseless and it moves up. So when it comes to a particular region, when there is warmness in the atmosphere, because of the warmness, the air expands, air gets warmer and it starts to move up. And when there is a movement of air upwards, you get a space there, a vacuum is created, and to adjust that vacuum, atmospheric pressure plays a major role here, and thereby the air that is outside of this region starts to get inside, and this you call it as wind. I hope you understand. So one, sunlight which affects your temperature, based on that you get a weather. And secondly, again sunlight, based on sunlight you have temperature difference or temperature gradient, and based on that you get wind. There is an old song, a black and white song I think so, which is காற்று வந்ததால் கிளைகள் அசைந்ததா, கிளைகள் அசைந்ததால் காற்று வந்ததா. So which is the correct answer? So don't say option A or option B. Actually both are correct answer, because when you get wind only you get a movement of branches. கிளைகள் means branches. At the same time, when you are fanning with a branch, I hope you understand fanning. Okay, so when you are using this branch, okay, in that case when the branch moves you get a wind. So I would say, as per science, as per fact, both are correct. That is, காற்று வந்தாலும் கிளைகள் அசையும், கிளைகள் அசைந்தாலும் காற்று வரும். Okay, so this is the fact behind this song. Okay, right. If you have not heard that song, kindly with your parents' guidance, hear that song. Okay, right. The third one is rainfall. So as I gave a small idea about this clouds and rains. Okay, that is, again starting with sunlight. When there is more sunlight, because of that the temperature increases. When the temperature increases, that results in temperature gradient. That is, in one region more temperature and in the other region less temperature. That is called known as temperature gradient. And because of this temperature gradient, you come across wind. Movement of air is known as wind. And because of this wind, you come across formation and distraction of clouds. So in some places, in some time, at some time duration, when you look into the sky, you will find the accumulation of clouds. Most of the time, you will find a movement of clouds, either slowly or rapidly. So all these are because of wind. I hope you are understanding what I am trying to say. So what I am trying to say is that wind is responsible, or one of the main reason for the formation of clouds that results in the formation of rain. At the same time, wind is the main reason to disperse the clouds. If there is no accumulation of clouds, which results in the lack of rainfall, there will be no rainfall. So this happens even in our region. You may, when you are in school, you come across more cloud formation. You may think the rain will come. Immediately after few moments, you will come across the disperse or the distraction of these clouds, which is because of the wind. So if there is no cloud accumulation, which means there is no rain formation. I hope you understand now. So cloud formation is very, very important, which is because of the wind, and wind is because of temperature gradient, and temperature is because of sunlight. So that's why I said in the beginning, sunlight is the main reason for the various elements of the weather, and based on which weather is decided in a particular region. Okay, right. Next, to study about this rainfall, you have to recall what you have learned in lower classes, that is water cycle. That is, the formation of clouds is because of the evaporation of water that is found on the surface of the earth. It may be river or pond or lake. These are some few examples of surface water. That is water found on the surface of the earth. That is known as surface water. During high temperature, maybe especially summer season, more water are evaporated because of high temperature. This is known as evaporation. And these water rises, and at a particular altitude, they condense to form clouds. These clouds, when they precipitate, that is, when this water vapor, you call it as clouds, when it forms water, that is, when it condenses, it forms rain. Again I repeat, water evaporates and forms clouds. These clouds keep on moving from one region to another region. At one particular point, they condense or they precipitate to form rain. And that rain again forms surface water. So in this context, I just want to say one thing, that is, since we are learning about rainfall, now we understand how clouds are formed and how rain is formed. So this condensation or precipitation of these clouds results in formation of rain. Okay, so again and again, sunlight is the sole reason for these factors, which is responsible for temperature, which is responsible for wind, and which is responsible for rain, and finally humidity, which can also be said as relative humidity. So first let me say what is meant by humidity. When water evaporates, it forms water vapor, and all the water vapor do not form clouds. You find abundant water vapor found in the atmosphere, that is in the air. Humidity is the presence of water vapor in air. So water vapor that is found in air is actually known as humidity, and this humidity can be measured based on which you have this relative humidity. What is relative humidity? The maximum percentage of water vapor that air can hold in it is actually known as, or which is actually measured as relative humidity. This relative humidity, which is shortly known as RH, will be very less during summer season, and it will be 100% when it is raining. So this is a small aspect that you should keep in mind. Whenever it is heavily raining, if someone asks what is the relative humidity, you can blindly say it is 100%, because abundant water will be found in the air. I mean full water, that is 100%. Okay. What are the instruments that are used to measure these elements of weather? With regard to temperature, to measure temperature, we use thermometers. There are different types of thermometers. Again, you will learn in chapter 4, like a laboratory thermometer, clinical thermometer. Clinical thermometer, that is used to measure the temperature of a person or an animal, whereas laboratory thermometer, that is used to measure the temperature of a place. Similarly, we have another thermometer known as maximum and minimum thermometer, so which comprises of two thermometers, one displaying the maximum temperature and the other displaying the minimum temperature. So with regard to this weather report or finding weather, we go for this maximum and minimum thermometer, which shows the maximum temperature of that day and the minimum temperature of that particular day at a particular time. This maximum and minimum thermometer comprises of readings in both Fahrenheit as well as Celsius. Fahrenheit reading as well as Celsius reading. The range is from -28 to 121 degree Fahrenheit. The Celsius reading ranges from -34 to 50 degree Celsius, based on which the maximum and minimum temperatures are forecast. The wind speed is measured by an instrument known as anemometer, whereas relative humidity is measured by an instrument known as hygrometer. And finally, the rainfall is measured by an instrument known as rain gauge. So this rain gauge comprises of a funnel and a container. So using this funnel, the rain is collected for a particular time duration, and based on the collected water for a particular time duration, the amount of rainfall is given at a particular place. And finally, atmospheric pressure, which is not in a book, which is based on this, again, sunlight, temperature and wind speed. So when I was teaching about wind, I said in a particular region you come across air getting hotter, so it goes up, and I said this gradient. Okay, so once when the air goes up, a vacuum is created, and why the wind from outside gets inside, and that is mainly because of the atmospheric pressure, which balances the pressure almost all over the atmosphere or all over the earth's surface. So this is actually known as atmospheric pressure. Together, all these factors, all these elements gives the weather of a particular place at a short period of time, which includes temperature, rainfall, humidity or relative humidity, wind speed and atmospheric pressure. Now we'll go to the next topic, that is climate. As I said in the beginning of today's class, when weather is a phenomenon or a process that takes place for a short period of time in a particular region, climate is the phenomenon or process that takes place for a long period of time. I said it may be for even years together. So this is the main difference between a weather and a climate. But climate is almost the same like weather, which is based on rain, based on temperature, based on wind speed, etc. But the difference is weather takes place for a short period of time, but climate takes place for a long period of time. I hope by this time now you all could understand weather and climate. I hope you all got a good idea about weather and climate, and also about the various elements of weather. Today's assignment is something different. So far we have not given this sort of assignment. I have decided like that. Nothing. You just collect the photos of the various instruments that are used to measure one, temperature, second, rainfall, third, wind speed, 4, humidity. Okay, so you from net you collect the photos of these 4. That is, if it is temperature, none other than minimum and maximum thermometer. If it is rainfall, rain gauge. If it is humidity, picture of hygrometer. And finally, if it is wind speed, picture of anemometer. If possible, also find what is the instrument that is used to measure atmospheric pressure and collect a photo of that too. If not, at least collect these 4 photos, that is rain gauge, minimum and maximum thermometer, then hygrometer and anemometer. So it should be a little bigger, not too smaller. So bigger in the sense such that it is visible to a person who is looking at it. It need not to be teacher, it may be someone else even who is in your house, maybe your friends, etc. So they should understand what picture is there. Okay, so how it is. So like that it should be a little bigger. Okay, if possible, maybe you collect a picture of all these 4 in one A4 paper, a printout in one A4 paper, such that you can cut that and paste in your notebook and name those instruments. Okay, for example, you paste the photo of maximum minimum thermometer. Below that you write maximum minimum thermometer. In bracket you write used to measure temperature. Similarly, second one, for example, if you are pasting rain gauge, you write rain gauge, and in bracket you write used to measure rainfall. Then third, hygrometer, in bracket you write used to measure humidity. And finally, anemometer, in bracket you write used to measure wind speed. So like that you collect all these 4 photos. Again I repeat, you can take a printout in one single A4 paper, such that all the 4 photos are found in that paper. You cut it into 4 halves and paste it in your notebook. So this is your assignment for today. So I think you will be interested in doing this sort of assignments. So that's why I'm giving this today. So kindly do that with interest. Also finish all your previous assignments without fail. Okay, thank you. God bless you.